Hi everyone, what's up? Kwaku here. Going to be bringing you our next Life Words Bible reading for today. We're going to be looking at Luke chapter 22, verses 1 to 20. As always, I'm going to share some thoughts and reflections with you. Hopefully you're encouraged by this. So yeah, let's get to it. So, in this passage we see Jesus tell his disciples to go somewhere in town, to go and find somewhere they can celebrate something called Passover. Really quick backstory on Passover. Passover is a celebration in Jewish tradition where the Israelites would remember a great miracle that God did for them in the Old Testament. Now, if many of you know the Old Testament story, you probably know where I'm going with this. In the Old Testament, while the Israelites were in slavery in Egypt, 10 plagues were happening, and during one of the plagues, Moses tells the Israelites to go and take the blood of a lamb and put it on their doorposts. He says that as they do this, when the last plague comes into Egypt, it will pass over them. Hence why it's called Passover. Now, the Israelites observed this and remembered it every year and celebrated it as a way to remember what God did for them, that he would always come through in his promises for them, that he loved them and he cared about them. Now, in the same way, Jesus uses the Last Supper as a way to remember a new miracle that's going to happen, the miracle of his death and resurrection. Why is it a miracle? Why is it so important that we look at the Last Supper like this? It's because Jesus uses the Last Supper as a way to commemorate his death. Now that can sound sad, but if you know the full story, you know it ends with greatness and it ends with goodness and Jesus being victorious. But Jesus partakes of bread and wine and shares it with his disciples and says, "Do this often in remembrance of me." And to be honest, that's the whole reason, I think, why Jesus told his disciples to partake of bread and wine and to do this as often as they met. Because sometimes we can just become complacent with what we know. We talk about Jesus' death and resurrection and how much he conquered sin and how much he loves us and forgives us all the time, but sometimes it can just become like something we know, something we're comfortable with. But like, yeah, he did that. But the truth is, it's the most incredible thing Jesus ever did. And that's why the Last Supper is so important. If some of you are catching on, what Jesus is doing with the disciples called the Last Supper is something believers do all over the world called communion, where we partake of bread and wine and remember what Jesus did for us on the cross, because it's worth remembering. It's a miracle worth remembering. It's a miracle worth talking about. It's the greatest thing Jesus ever did for us as believers, so that we could stand blameless before God, not having to pretend, not having to fake, not having to strive and pursue righteousness and greatness and showing off that we're the most holy people in the world. Jesus died so we could stand humbly before God, knowing that we are made right through our faith in him. So maybe that's something you need to remember today. Maybe that's something you can hold on to today and reflect on. Why this Last Supper is so important. Why communion is so important. I hope that encourages you. As always, if you have any questions, please do share them with us. Drop us a DM, drop us a comment. We'll be happy to answer them. But that's all from me, so God bless.